This is the big panel where we are being live streamed, which means people all over the world who are just listening and watching you give that excited but not really that excited response. So let's try one more time. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon, New York City. My name is John Cunningham. I work for DC Entertainment. I am your moderator today. You don't really care about that, do you? So let me get my housekeeping out of the way first. There is no way you can possibly enjoy New York Comic Con without having the DC Entertainment Events app on your phone or device of choice. It sounds like a pitch line, it's true. All of our panels, all of the signing events, all of the booth stuff, and every other cool thing is loaded in here every day. It's updated literally anytime we see an update, so it's not like we loaded a bunch of junk in 2 months ago. We haven't updated anything. And if it is, thanks somebody else. Get it at your favorite app store for free. Next, on a completely different note. Last year, you may recall, if you were here, we talked about our We Can Be Heroes campaign, in which we tried to mobilize all of you and the Justice League and Warner Brothers to help ease the famine suffering in the Horn of Africa. Together, we raised $2 million in 2012 on a straight donation basis. We changed the game a little bit and went into auctioning off signed mementos, signed books, and really cool, unique fan experiences like being drawn into a book. These auctions are ongoing at indiegogo.com/wecanbeheroes. You can see from the slide this week, ending on Sunday, our prize packages that involve Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. Next week, the big boys hit Batman and Superman. There are some really cool packages in there. If you've not gone and checked out the We Can Be Hero stuff at Indiegogo, I think you'll be surprised when you do, because it's awesome. Lastly, starting next week, on the 15th, at DCComics.com, we'll be launching a weekly Inside DC web series called DC All Access. 5 to 7 minute segments that will go up every week that will take you through the magic of video, literally behind the scenes at DC. We all had to clean our offices, so please appreciate these videos when you see them. Enough of the shilling, let's go to the Batman panel. Dance of Batman creators and introduce them. I'm going to start on my most immediate left, the writer of Batman, Mr. Scott Snyder. Next to Scott is the illustrated partner, Mr. Greg Capullo. Next to Greg Capullo from Talon, it's James Simon. Writer of Batwoman, Mr. Mark Andreyka. Next to Mark, the writer of Nightwing, Kyle Higgins. Next to Kyle Higgins is the writer of Catwoman, and as I like to think of her, the mother of Joker's daughter, Ms. Anna Senti. And from Detective Comics, Mr. John Layman. At the far end, the last and far, far from least, from the Batman and Whoever series, Mr. Pete Tomasi. Let's start this off. We got up first Adam. There is the cover of Batman 24 that just came out this week. How many people in this room have already bought it? Batman panel, having not bought Batman 24, raise your hand. Yeah. All right. Good for you. Not fun. That'll change. Security. Thank you, Greg. I couldn't do that. So guys, this is kind of a minor issue in your now 2-year-old Batman saga. Big issue, big price, amazing, amazing book. What do you want to say to the crowd about what's happening with Batman 24?
First, we just want to say thank you to everybody out there. I mean, for us, this story, really to me, it's my favorite thing I've ever done in writing ever. Like, not just on Batman, but it means more to me than any story I've ever written. And you know, again, to give quick cliff notes, what happened was essentially we realized as we were going along that year one couldn't be Batman's origin anymore because of the changes that happened in the 52. With a lot of the different kind of exciting stories that happened with Selina or the Falcone family or Richard Gordon, and so it became time to decide whether we were going to do a new origin or not. And really what happened was, at first I just tried to keep year one, you know, and I tried to keep the scene with the bat, and I tried to do the, you know, you feasted well, and all of these things, just incorporate them into this earlier story that I had. And as I was doing that, I realized I called up Greg, and I was like, it's just not working. You know, it doesn't work, maybe we shouldn't do it. And talking to him, and he's seriously one of my best friends, like, in the world. And he is... This like teddy bear, and he breaks my neck. But the idea was that we realized we had to do something that was our own and modern and jettison the stuff that we loved, that's inspired us to be able to do something that's for now and today. So all of the fears in Batman, you're going to see some spoilers today actually, that they weren't going to put it in the picture, in the slides. And I was like, no, we have to put stuff that they haven't seen yet and just spoil some stuff, you know, for you guys as a thank you. With stuff coming on visually, so you haven't seen it yet. We didn't do it in the all access panel either. This is stuff that's exclusively for here. There's some very big, you know, some fun news stuff coming up about Batman and what's going to happen. But we just want to say thank you. I mean, doing the story, honestly, to make the Red Hood Gang representative of kind of the modern fears of the city, the random violence, the big violence, the terrorism. In the second part, you have things that are about IEDs. You have stuff about, you know, the fear of, yeah, exactly. No, just all the kinds of fears that we have, you know, nowadays as opposed to in 1986 or 1987. And the fact that you guys have been so supportive on this story really, really means the world to us. Both of us, or I'll speak for myself. I mean, I was so exhilarated writing it. I've never been as exhilarated writing anything, but I was also incredibly terrified before it came out. Really to the point that I had like severe anxiety about it, you know, depression about it, just worrying that what am I doing? I can't believe I'm writing the origin, and the origin year one is just a masterpiece. There's no touching it, and that fear of doing something that, you know, everyone would just read and be like, what a wasted thing. I mean, but you know deep down in your heart as you're writing it and you're seeing the art come in from him, you're like, no, it's special. We're doing something that matters to us and it's personal. So the fact that you guys have been so supportive, I can never be able to thank you enough, ever. And this issue, 24, was meant as a kind of crowd-pleasing, stand up and cheer for Batman, thank you to you guys, and everything in it, the way he's designed physically, the way his haircut, his suit is meant to be sort of like Batman reborn for a modern era right now. Like, what if he formed today? You know, it's almost a motorcycle kind of racing, badass military Batman, you know, who's a little bit wild. You kind of don't know what he's going to do when he walks in a room, sort of Batman, you know? And so this issue was really meant as a kind of celebration of all things Batman, from the cover from Detective 27, you know, to homages essentially to different sort of Batman stuff throughout history, you know, and in that way we just, honestly, I won't say it again, but thank you for being so supportive of this. This issue is my favorite issue that we've ever done, and it really means a lot to me that you guys have been so behind us on it. I'll never, ever forget that. This moment where we were like, I remember telling him, and then FCO was gonna color it in, and we were just like, no, it's just a huge, because I was talking to him, and I'm like, no, it's a big blackout. He was like, you mean like a little bat? I was like, no, a huge blackout you see from the sky, where it's like everybody in the city is first introduced to Batman by having their power knocked out. He was kind of like, but then they would hate him. They would think he's awesome. It's awesome. It'll go back on. So I love this page. It's really fun. It was a really fun sequence.
And a real pain in the ass to draw. I lose my mind with this stuff, right? Yeah, there's a million ways you can pull that shot off easier, but I just start getting crazy and noodling and everything. And just let me back it up, because Scott gave his thanks. I gotta give my thanks as well. And let you know that early on we were very stressed about this, as he said, you know, we're taking on something as big as retelling the Batman origin. And as an artist, I mean, you're working constantly, so, you know, it's kind of like in the back of your mind, I'm doing Batman origin, but just in the past couple days, it really set in, you're doing the Batman origin. I'm very, 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 very lucky, and I'm very, very honored. And the fact that you guys show us so much love and support means more than anything to me. And I want you to know, I work ungodly amounts of hours really trying to give you the best that I can give you while keeping my deadlines, of course. And I saw all this outpouring of love for issue 24, and even our, our higher ups, gave us a pat on the back, and that feels great. And it also, in a way, it puts more pressure on you, because personally speaking, as the penciler, I don't want to give you a panel, not even one panel, that you'll be disappointed in. Believe me when I tell you, and I've said it before, DC cuts me the checks, but I really feel like I'm working for you. And every day when I sit at that table, I'm giving it my all. And Scott, I'll tell you. So I'm reading all this outpouring of love for issue 24, and you feel good about it, and I just came back from Ireland, and I got sick. And so I'm in the midst of penciling issue 26, and you want to fall asleep, the last thing you want to do is work, but I got no choice. So, my energy's down, and I felt it was hurting the work, I'm doing my best again, I'm telling them, do the pages suck? Please tell me they don't suck, and I'm changing stuff when I can, but what I'm trying to tell you is never think for a minute that I'm ever resting on my laurels and taking anything for granted. It's an important thing that we're doing, and it's probably going to be standing the test of time for a long time to come. And so just know that every single time I sit at that table, I'm preparing to give a knockout punch as hard as I can. Can't guarantee everyone's going to be a knockout for you, but I'm trying for you. Thanks for giving me all the love and support.
Yesterday he sent this page that I thought was amazing. He wrote back later in the day and he's like, the last panel sucks and redoing it. I was like, the panel's awesome. With the jet engine and the whole thing. And it's like, no, and he just redoes it. And he'll redo it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually better. Oh yeah, it was. I loved it, and you guys would love it, but there's no bigger perfectionist and harder working guy in comics than him. And we're both really neurotic, is why I think we get along with him. He's like, did you like those panels? And I'm like, first of all, if you like the script.
Yeah, I know. And it drives my wife crazy, right? Because she sees already how many hours I work. I mean, a slow day is 12 hours. And so, I usually could go up to 16 hours. And, so when she comes home and I've already showed her a page that was complete, and then I say, I've changed this panel, now I get, why? Because it wasn't good enough. So anyway, all right.
Over that. Okay, so now it's time to spoil away. We're going to show you some pages from Batman 25.
Zero Year is broken into 3 sections. We didn't want to say when we started it, and I was joking before where I was like, when we announced that we were doing 11 issue thing of the origin, everyone was sort of like, what's going to be like 2 issues of just the pearls falling? And that kind of stuff. Yes. Yeah, maybe so, because he would draw the shit out of it anyway.
Get out my circle temple.
But it's 3 really bombastic sections, and this section is about the Riddler has just blown out the city. It's basically black. And they're trying to repair the grid after this charge he sent through it. He's like, go ahead, see what happens. We're playing a game now, let the games begin. And he's sort of like trying to be smarter. He's challenging the city to be as smart as him. If they can't, the city will die. That's basically what he says. And that's in the background. In the actual foreground of the story, Batman solving his first detective case with a very, very old villain that we've reinvented in a way that I'm really excited about. And he's sort of on the case, and Gordon is on the case. The police are hunting Batman. They hate Batman. Essentially, it's very much about the development of the relationship between him and Gordon in a way that I think will really surprise you. Because basically what I didn't say before is, when they first meet, Gordon comes to basically, it's really fun. Batman, and I'm going to spoil a little bit, but Batman, Bruce, guys spoil it?
I love it.
All right. Bruce and Alfred are in the cave, and they're working together on something to jam any signal the Riddler sends, essentially to re-cripple the city. Because Bruce knows he's up to something. He's like, if we turn the city on, he'll probably knock something else out, so I need a jammer to stand up in a weather balloon. They're working on it. They finish, he's complaining to Alfred about, the cops fucking suck. The city, they're corrupt. Oh, they're corrupt, and they climb up a ladder to go out the hole, the cave from the well. They get up there and he's like, there's one cop in this town I trust. And he gets up there and Gordon's standing.
What do you do there? What's in the hole?
Exactly. And he's like, you were saying, Mr. Wayne, you know? And they have this animosity. This should be really surprising, except that I'm spoiling it. But it's essentially, Bruce is sort of like, you know why I hate you, Gordon. He's like, you're the most corrupt, crooked villain in Gotham. And he's basically like, because of what you did on the night my parents died, I'll never forgive you. I'll never work with you as Bruce Wayne, ever, ever. He's like, you are my mortal enemy, essentially. And you get a hint of what happened. There's a big mystery about what happened on the night his parents were killed in Crime Alley. Gordon's really at the center of it. So, at core, we would never change the stuff that you guys love about the character, and we love too. So don't worry, Gordon didn't shoot his parents. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I am talking about is that the relationship has a new and different foundation that I feel makes them a stronger bond. Because what Bruce needs to learn is that there's something he doesn't know about the night his parents were killed. That really sheds light on who Gordon is in a different way. And one of the keys is almost why he dresses the way he does, why he looks the way he does. Something traumatic happened that night. And so this series has this section has a lot of moving pieces. The first section is called Secret City. Second section is Dark City. It happens in the dark, in the black, while the Riddler's blacked out the city and he's in the background. And this new killer, this villain that's a reinvention of an old an old villain, is essentially terrorizing the city in a way that I think you guys will really enjoy. The section is about bones being broken and reset. It's about the city dying to be reborn in the third section, which is Wild City, where you got a glimpse of it in 21, where you saw the city overgrown. You know, maybe Poison Ivy has something to do with that in some way. You can see her in 25. Spoiler. Spoiler roll. And in issue 35. And anyway, it's three sections. This section essentially, he's after this villain, and what I'll do, I'll go through, because you have pages up there that I haven't even addressed. Okay, so, if you go back to the page, yeah. So this is the first page of issue 25.
Never thought I'd be drawing like that stuff in Batman.
Well, that's the idea, is I wanted it to be modern. I said to Greg, I wanted it to look like the images we know of warfare. You don't know what's happening. You know, I'm not going to give away what's going on, except that, or maybe I will, it's a convoy, actually, and they're looking for something, and you don't know what it is. And that line, what I love about Greg is that line in the sand is, he was like, why don't we do it and evoke the idea of, one of the themes of the whole story is that string maze that you saw in the Riddler's office, right, in Wayne Enterprises. If you look closely at the post-its and the things on that maze, they'll come back in different ways in the story. And that idea of lines, the lines of fate, the threads of fate, the eye being lowered into the cave, the stone eye of Gotham turning to you and looking at you and saying, what are you doing with your life? What are you going to be? All of those things are wrapped in thematically into the story to sort of culminate later on. So he was like, why don't we do it this way? So this convoy, they're looking for someone, you don't know who they're looking for. They find a door in the desert floor, they open it, and they're like, be careful what you find down there. And then boom, you turn the page. Turn the page. And then you get that. And then you get that.
I love when he gives me these kind of pages.
Yeah. And it's just like, what is that? The city is burning. That's going to happen. That's going to happen.
I didn't have to draw anything in the center of that page.
And who's looking at, someone is looking at it with their eye completely destroyed. And then you turn the page again.
That's me from all the hours I work. I just held up a mirror.
And this is the next page. This is pages 4 and 5. That you don't even know what's going on in the page before you turn the page. You get to this, and basically they're all looking for Batman. Bruce Wayne's lent the Gotham Police Department blimps because I was like,
that's cool, right?
And I remember Bob Harris said, sorry Bob if you're out there, but he was like, we don't want blimps in Gotham because they go back to the old house. Like blimps. So it's blimps because that's the animated series. It's an homage. Yeah. Love letter to all things Batman for us, all things. So you'll see like homages to everything we can think of to put in there. So the city is blacked out. Bruce Wayne has lent the cops blimps so he can actually keep a check on them. And so they're patrolling the city and they're looking for Batman in this sequence. And they're basically chasing the Batmobile, which he redesigned to look like the most badass hot rod you'll ever see. It's awesome.
It sounds usually this.
It's crazy. It's so cool. And those are the pages that we have. If they keep going, I would just spoil the whole issue for you. But the next page is big. It is. It's a big splash of the next page. You get to see the Batmobile, but it's not on there. But basically, you gotta see. It's super cool, and it does something really special that you haven't seen before, which I think is pretty fun. And But what else? Sorry, I'll shut up. But the
Listen, I've been on panels with this guy where he's reading the dialogue from the script. What is he doing? When they get the book, they're going to go and like, hey, this is very familiar. Because it's word for word. I just read this myself.
It's 22 pages. It's only like a quarter of the book. But what?
He just gives you a snippet, gives you the exact word for word exchange.
You know what? This is one of the cool things.
Stay away from Scott Snyder unless you've already purchased the book.
Just one more thing, and then I'll shut up. The bats at the beginning, I think it's an homage to Year One, essentially, where you know how Bruce has the device where the bats come to the building. Yeah. Instead, in our version, because he's given them the blimps, they're using surveillance cameras to look for Batman, and when he pushes a button, bats appear on the surveillance and destroy it so they can't see him. So it's a swarm of bats blocking their view of Batman. So it's really fun, you know. And I could not love writing the series more, and what I would say is, you stayed with us. Like I said, there's some dark, twisted, deep stuff with Gordon in the second section, and we really mean to give you an origin that's mythologically, you know, daring. But the first section was really redoing the stuff that I know is super sacred. And from here forward, the thing is a rollicking, twisted, dark, crazy adventure that gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until literally Gotham is completely transformed into this prehistoric, crazy land that essentially could be sunk at any minute. So it's really the biggest thing we could possibly do with an origin, and I could not be more exhilarated by it.
That all sounds fun, right?
And in case you haven't been paying attention, there are all of the zero-year issues behind it from other books that are all coming in November, some of which we'll talk about a little bit later here. Next slide I want to get to, though, deals with one of the big announcements from this week. This is the image we released when we announced coming in April, the weekly series Batman Eternal, which, Scott, you are showrunning, another duty to add to your...
With James Tynan. This guy is the unsung hero, honestly, Gotham. It's like, if there's a band, you know, it's Gotham, like, if I get to be the front man, this guy is the rest of the band. So, like, everything that we're doing in terms of the weekly and stuff like that, I get to get out there and say, hey, we're doing this, and this guy does the work that makes it beautiful music, honestly. So, wait till you see what he has coming up.
Hey, sound guys, is this mic on over here? I got somebody over here who wants to ask a question, apparently. Yes, ma'am, do you have a question from the audience?
You know what it is.
Ask away.
Is Stephanie Brown and or Cassandra Cain going to be coming back anytime soon?
They're characters that you guys have been really vocal about in a great way and dedicated to, and you know, that you wanted to come back, and so in this series we really felt it was time to bring back Crazy Quill. I will bring back Crazy Quill, but no, in fact, your guys' love of Stephanie Brown has been so inspiring to us on the series, and in Batman in general, you know, and she's a character that we really, really adore, and so we're really proud to announce that she's going to be coming back in the series. Oh my God. In a big way. Dan Video is in the audience to yell at us for telling you that. So.
Too late now.
In some ways back, so you can't catch us. But thank you, honestly, thank you to you guys for being so in love with that character, because she's a character that we always loved, and to be honest, nobody was trying to shelve her. It was more about trying to find the right time to introduce her, reintroduce her to continuity, and you know, we knew that we had a big story here, and James came up. Honestly, James is the one that came up with the way to do it, to reintroduce the character, spoiler. And so I'm really, really thrilled. It's a modern, fresh take that honors the character she's always been, and we can't wait for you to see her. So just start reading the weekly. She's going to be in it very, very soon.
Hey, by the way, I forgot to put this out earlier, but for the bleeding cool stringers in the room, that was Scott Snyder, S-N-Y-D-E-R, who announced that, not Jeff Johns, in case you're having problems identifying who's speaking on stage here. Okay, I feel better about that one. Let's go on to the next slide. Adam Phillips. And for something completely different, here is the cover to Batman Two-Face number 24, which is coming out the 16th. We've worked through the stages of Brief now, and this begins a longer storyline called The Big Burn. So what is going on with these two guys, Mr. Tomasi?
Really, we're sort of, it's a big continuation really even from the 5 stages of Brief. It kind of sort of formulating when Batman did his little number on Frankenstein. And, you know, I think it was really important to show Batman in a different light than you usually see him. I know a lot of people, from what I've read and talked to, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe Batman did that to Frankenstein. And then also brought Jason Todd back to, you know, the spot where he, you know, was killed, so to speak. So it was something really important to me to show that sort of other side of things, and it started making me really think about the next Two-Face arc and the fact that I was going to be able to do his origin in the New 52 and really explore the duality of Bruce, Harvey. We're introducing Pat and I a new character called Erin McKillen, and she's an Irish lass who's got a real add-on for Batman, and Harvey himself, and we'll see as the series progresses. It's a 5-issue arc, and we'll see some pretty intense things where I think we've got a new character that's got a lot of meat and a lot of great shadings to it. And you know, one of the first pages of that first part is, you know, was something I wanted to set the template for the rest of the series. And you know, we see everybody in very subtle ways when you look at it. You'll see everybody sort of covered in a half shadow, be it from the tree, Alfred's cleaning the graves of the Waynes, and you'll see shadows over Alfred's face. Batman's just come in from a heavy night. He's got, you know, the way his head is bowed, the way his hat drew it beautifully, the water's kind of coming down, covering half his face. Then we cut to Gordon, and Gordon's coming out of the shower, and he's shaving, and half of his face is, you know, of course, covered in shaving cream as he's getting a call from Bullock about this new character, Erin McKillen, being back in town, so to speak. And then we cut to Erin McKillen herself, who is, you know, coming in from Ireland, and she's laying on a pillow in the plane, and, you know, her head is sort of half out of the pillow. So that was a real sort of foundation for us. Just sort of all those characters are going to be really explored, and we're going to see the duality of each of them through the course of this series. And, you know, Pat Gleason, as I say, is one of the most underrated artists in DC, and if not the business. And I think he's, you know, really are just unreal. Wait till you see the Harvey stuff. The opening pages of Harvey are awesome. We just zero in on a fly that's bothering Harvey as he's sleeping, and he has on his, of course, bad side, the eye that's always open. But I thought, how does Harvey Dent sleep? He's got no eye. So imagine, you know, you see some people who are actually, you know, they'll sleep with their eyes open. You've heard of those people. Maybe there's some in the room, I don't know. But, you know, for me, it was kind of interesting to even think about Harvey in that way, to say, how does Harvey Dent sleep with that eye open?
I would use an eye patch over that eyelash.
And of course, the fly lands right in his eye, and you know, you see some cool character stuff from there. But it builds and builds until you'll see why Erin McKillen, Harvey Dent, Bruce, and even Gordon, all those days from the past two are explored in the origin, which we start off actually with Two-Face. That page there that you're seeing on the screen now is a shot where, you know, we see him for the first time as Two-Face, and we start the book at that spot in the origin, and we actually work our way backwards as the series progresses to when one of the things we'll find out is, I thought it was a really cool idea to take Harvey where he wasn't just a DA at first. I thought of a way to kind of begin him as actually a defense attorney. So he started off in a way as Two-Face. He was defending criminals at first, and then he ended up finding his way into the district attorney office, because what better way, you know, than to know the other side of the law, which some attorneys do. They make that flip. So it was a cool way to kind of explore even Harvey's duality in that respect. So it's pretty awesome, and that's what is that scene there. That's a fight at the end of the first issue with Erin McKillen back in town taking on Batman, and she's a terrier, and it's really just amazing Pat stuff. So I hope you guys really like it, and I hope you like the way we explore the whole duality of all the Bat characters. And like Scott and Greg were saying down there, you know, your support for the book has been awesome. So I just want to say thanks a lot.
Next
here is the cover for Batman 24, which is out now. I guess the best way to describe, from my point of view, this particular issue is fight, fight, fight. This is a big climax and a huge, huge action issue.
Yeah, I wanted this to be like a real, I guess, Michael Bay, Roland Emmerich, but not terrible.
These sound guys, are these guys mic levels down at the end work? I can barely hear them over here.
I've been doing a lot of, every issue of Detective, I've tried to make it, a detective story where, Batman, each one's kind of a little bit self-contained, even over larger arcs. He's trying to solve something, but every once in a while you just gotta, take the gloves off and just hammer someone. And Jay is a big nerd who loves to draw. Jay Babak loves to draw gadgets. So I kind of wanted to just let him have fun. Give Batman an awesome suit, give him the Batplane, give a big aerial fight through Gotham, and we just wanted to blow things up. And that's the most recent issue of Detective. 25? I can't say it.
No, it's shot from 24, but please address 25.
Oh, okay, so this is the Zero issue, yes?
Yes.
Okay, after that, I have a problem that I write Batman, and he's got a whole bunch of different books, and he's in a lot of other places. So Zero issue comes along, and there's a lot of other Zero issue stories coming along, but Batman's kind of busy, so I decided to focus on Gordon. And so there is a very Gordon-centric, and it's detective, it's a mystery that he has to solve. And it was a really fun story to write. I got to see it all come together in lettering last week. And it's just a good cop, a good tough cop story.
Yes, it was an interesting issue to read. I read the black and white this week. It was interesting to read in the wake of the Gotham announcement, which you sort of felt like, oh, look, this is happening here. But I like the way you described it. There is a mystery in that issue. And then
I was trying to do that. Scott's book, and all the Bat books are all very distinct. And I tried to, when I got Detective, I tried to make it more, villain focused, and never forget that Batman is a detective, and give him, a case, and he's not always about strength. He's equal parts about brains.
This is the cover to Batman 27. Hey, so Mark, where are you in your process of working on Batwoman? What can you talk to the audience about what you're going to do here?
I should be home where I am right now. Right, Mike? I just finished the Zero-year issue of Batwoman. That was a lot of fun. It's going to show Kate returning to Gotham from West Point for a family tragedy and getting caught up in all the stuff that's happening in Scott's book and seeing the seeds of the woman who will eventually become Batwoman. And then with issue 26, it'll be a fresh new arc, and I'll be reintroducing classic Bat villain that hasn't been seen yet. And yeah, it's all very new. So I wish I could give you tons of spoilers, but it's still in process right now. But I'm thrilled to be a part of this universe with all these guys. I've been fans of everybody up here for a long time, and I was huge fans of what Greg and JH and Hayden and Trevor did with Batwoman. So I'm going to try and continue to make their character you guys all care about, and open up her worldview and make her a little bit more interactive with the richness of Gotham, because it's such a great toy box to be playing in. I think to let the toys not be played with. So as I have more to tell you, I guess look for interviews for me, because it's still very new right now. It's still the working process. So I am taking it very seriously, because this is a impressive group to try and keep up with. So I think you'll be excited. What we got done so far, I've been really happy with, and working with Mike and Darren editorially, they've been really supportive and been great help. So the first issue will be out in 4 weeks, which is terrifying, but 4 weeks from Wednesday. So I'll be looking for what you say on the internet in 4 weeks, and hopefully not crying.
What's scary is the next one comes out 4 weeks after that.
Oh, I know. I'm 2 in so far. So.
All right, we look forward to that. Thank you, Mark. Just came out this week. I would like to point out that we seem to have a trend here. Everything is on fire in every Batman. This looks like it's the biggest fire of all. Symbolic, it may or may not be. But this is kind of a big issue when you're up to the...
And surprisingly, very little fire in the issue. We used it all up on the cover. Yeah, it came out this week. It's the culmination of our first big arc in Chicago. We made the move after the death of the family, as well as the death of Damien, to get Dick out from under Gotham a little bit, and out from under some of the bad events and processes and things like that, and really world build for him. And what better way than tracking down the man who killed his parents? So in the New 52, I had a story in mind and a backstory for what had happened with Tony Zuko. And so we used that as an opportunity to bring Dick Grayson to Windy City, where he ran into the Prankster. It's a New 52 version of the Prankster that kind of reinvented as a cross between, like the hacker group Anonymous. They're going to spam my email when I said that. No, it's kind of a cross between Jigsaw from the Saw movies and kind of modern hacker. And it's been a lot of fun. This issue brings the prankster's motives kind of to light, and you see how his story parallels what Dick is going through here, and may inform some decisions that Dick makes going forward. So coming out of this, we've got our 0-year issue. Well, actually, we have an annual that comes out at the end of this month that follows Dick and Barbara's dynamic. So it was something that we wanted to explore a little bit, and Dick heads back to Gotham City to kind of pack up his stuff to bring it to Chicago, and goes out on the town with Barbara, Batgirl, kind of one last time, and explore some stuff about their relationship and their dynamic in the past and going forward. And then from there, we got our 0-year, which is pretty cool. It's kind of a modern urban fantasy fairy tale where the dark streets, actually the dark alleys of Gotham are kind of like the equivalent of a haunted forest. Dick goes out on his own to see a movie against his parents' wishes, and then all hell breaks loose in the city, and he's left to try to find his way home. So it's cool.
Catwoman 24 coming out on October 23rd. You can see every time you give a girl a book, somebody else comes and tries to steal it from her. So again, when you came up with the plot line for Joker's daughter, you probably thought it was going to become as big a deal as it quickly became off of that first one-page appearance, huh?
Well, this was an incredible honor, actually, to play with the face. The face that Scott Snyder made so powerful. And the whole thing of creating a Gotham Underground was just a huge thrill and a huge collaborative process, going all the way back to like last April, coming up with what new pockets could be underneath Gotham, and researching like speakeasy tunnels and towns that had flooded, and just really, I live in New York, so just walking around New York and just trying to sort of sense what's under Gotham. And then working with, Rafa Sandoval is just phenomenal artist, and I think this is his best work. The way he created the tunnels and the bunker and all the different worlds down there. And there was artist Kevin Lashy who also worked on creating these intense underground worlds, and all the new characters. It was an extremely collaborative process with me throwing ideas at my editors, Rachel and Michael and Darren, and we all came up with like the names together. I remember Tesla was a character. I wanted to give Catwoman a cue, like somebody that would help her with her weapons and her technology. And it was sort of one of these just intensely creative things, back and forth, where everyone was coming up with possible names for her. And of course, I really wanted to give Catwoman a cat. So that was just a very thrilling thing for me to finally figure out what kind of a catch you have. So I just, it just was tons of development work, tons of back and forth, probably the most I've ever done in terms of creating a world and then having everybody, Rafa in Spain, and Scott McDaniel was doing the layouts, and everybody just working together to come up with this. So, it was a thrill.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Book that James is writing. This is Red Hood and the Outlaw, and that's coming to issue 24, which comes out next week.
Yeah. Right before I get into that, I do just want to say something that I could not be more honored to be working on Batman Eternal. The team we have together on this book is incredible. Sitting down in the room like we did, a few months ago with Tim Seeley and John Layman, we just cracked the world open of Gotham and really tried to see what are the best pieces that we're going to want to explore. I like finding the weird corners of stories that don't seem to have exploration, that haven't been explored yet, and we're going to be going into areas of Arkham, areas of the Gotham Gazette, areas of lots of different groups within Gotham that don't really get enough to play in the main series just because there's not enough room in 20 pages a month. Now it's going to be 4 times that, sometimes 5, and we have so much room to tell so many stories with so many great characters, including Stephanie Brown. So I'm just so honored to be on this project and could not be more excited.
Can I say one quick thing about that? Sorry to jump in. Also, so you know, like Batman Eternal, because I'm in the past, in Zero Year, Batman Eternal is where you should go to find out all the game-changing shit that's going to happen in Gotham that I'm going to come back to and pick up. The Batman in Batman Eternal is the Batman that I'm going to take when I get back from the past. And we promise you also, and I agree, one of the things I hope you guys leave this panel and take away from it, on my kids, honestly, we're all friends. Gotham is a really fun place to be for us as creators, James is one of my best friends, Greg is one of my best friends, Kyle, I talk to Pete all the time, and we welcome everybody coming in, but Mike Marks, the group editor on the books, and Katie Huber do such a good job of culminating an atmosphere of camaraderie between us, where we talk about everything all the time, and we really are, we're friends. We like working together. So the stuff coming for the 75th anniversary of Batman next year is going to be the nuttiest, craziest, biggest, game-changingest stuff for the status quo, because you guys deserve that, we feel, for the 75th anniversary, in a way that honors everything that came before, but gives you stuff that's going to be shocking and new. So this year for Batman coming up is going to be the most, I really believe, the most sensational year in a long, long time. Definitely more than anything we've done in our run. We promise you, to be like, what? This is the most amazing time for Batman. Not because of Batman, but because of all of these people and the way that we're going to change Gotham in the weekly where you look, but also in Catwoman, in Red Hood, in Nightwing, in Detective, in Batman and Robin, in everything. We really are looking to transform Gotham into a vibrant, exciting, different place that honors the core but gives you something new for 2015, so you can see the whole mythology kind of reborn. So it will be the most kind of game-changing year for us ever. We're really, really excited about everything we have. And again, we're a team, all of us. We're all friends. So and you guys are the people we work for. You're Gotham, and we're your stewards. You elected us, and we're here to try and give you Gotham for this coming year and the next year. That makes it exciting for you.
And that's not a political thing there. He's not a politician. He's telling you the truth. No empty promises. He means it.
I swear, I sound really hooky. I don't give a shit if I sound corny. I don't care. No, because I think you could be like, been too cool for school, whatever, you know, and like, you're like, no, I really can't. No, I'm serious. Like, I can be corny or hokey about it, but we love Gotham, all of us. And you guys are Gotham to us, and we're going to give you the craziest, most exciting year possible. We promise you. And Batman been in all these series. And when 2014 ends, you're going to be like, this is the most game-changing, exciting, bizarre time in Gotham, and I love it. I hope you love it. But we're really out to sort of give you a new, exciting take on the whole mythology, from all kinds of stuff I cannot spoil or they would kill me, which I would spoil, but I can't. But I mean it. I mean it. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I mean it. Like, when we leave 2014.
Never sounds
so
good.
much.
I hate that expression.
Who wants that? Who wants that? Nobody. Nobody wants that. Anyway.
All things.
But the point is that this year is going to be, I promise, the craziest, most exciting year in the world of Gotham, because we owe it to you guys for the 75th anniversary. And Batman Returns, yes.
Over in Red Hood and the Outlaws, Jason Todd has just taken over the League of Assassins, so that's pretty nice. And we're going to see this is the massive climb. I've been writing a very big story. I've seen this year like a movie, and this is the final stage. This next issue, it's 24, right? Yeah, 24 is going to it's going to bring everything to a head, and we're going to reveal who's been behind the curtain the whole time, sort of pulling the strings. We're going to see what the real motives of how Jason lost his memory and why that was necessary in a way that, you know, was not relayed to Roy and Corey. It's, I think once people see the whole picture laid out, they're gonna, you know, I think people will really enjoy it. And then plus you have, go to the, I think 2 episodes of that, yeah. You know, then you have Lady Shiva riding Ninja Man bats with spears down in Gilligan, so that's pretty cool too. Yeah, so, and in my other series, Talon, Calvin Rose is back in Gotham City after the events that happened in Santa Francisco. And we have, basically, you know, we have a new artist on the book, Manuel Simeone, who is absolutely killing it. You can see right there, it's really, really incredible stuff. And, you know, we have, and we also, go to the next one, have him back side by side with Batman really for the first time. He had that brief encounter with him earlier, but this is not a friendly team up. Batman does not like the fact that there are talents operating in the city, and everything that he has feared that Talon's basically hunting down the Court of Owls, provoking them to be something, get to a point where they're going to be more dangerous than we've ever seen them before. And he has a point there, and we're going to see that unveiled over the next few months. And we're also going to dig into the history of Felix Harmon in a really big way and tell a story that I've been waiting to tell since I originally pitched this book. This is the big end game of, like, back when I originally had this idea, I'm telling, like, the final, like, chapter of that Maxi story right there. So I'm really, really excited for you guys to check it out.
Presentation proper. We're almost at the end of our time. I have 5 minutes left. I'm going to entertain a couple audience questions from, we already have a line I can see of hopeful people over here at this microphone. Now I've got another hopeful line. There's going to be some unhappy people because I can guarantee you 5 minutes of questions are going to go fast. So let me stop wasting time. Yes, ma'am, over here.
Hi, guys. So excited to see you guys. But, quick question. Are you going to introduce maybe some children of Batman into any of your series? Like, when Batman and Catwoman were together, they had a kid. I know it's crazy, but I would really, really love to see a little bit of the family side of Batman.
That's Scott's story right after the zero.
Got it.
just want to say thanks to Pete and John and Kyle, Mark, and James for everything you guys rock. Before I came up here, I had to make sure I stopped at the comic book store Wednesday to pick up Batman 24. Because there was no way I could come here without raising my own hat. And I just want to say thanks to Scott and Greg because...
Oh, I thought we were being excluded for a particular reason.
Now, I hate us. Honest to God, if anybody hasn't read it yet, it's the best written and also the best drawn issue of your run, I think. The best part, Greg, was when you showed Commissioner Lowe with the Pez dispenser. And if anybody's a fan of year one, you'll notice the connection there. But what I really wanted to say was that the feeling that Scott, what he said, and Greg, and everybody, that interest in the character, that's what brings me into the comic store each week and each month. And it's not 3D covers, and it's not the gimmicks that do it for me. So I wanted to say to John and Mr. Harris and Mr. DiDio that it's the stories and the storytellers that are really bringing me in. And I hope that they support the people that want to tell stories because that's what's bringing me in and continuing to make me a DC fan. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, by the way, sir, that was the best question I've had today. For the smart and learning guy, I've got gifts from some of our partners up here. And for you, I have a Google Nexus 7 from our friends at Google, who we just launched graphic novels with digitally this week. Thank you for the kind words. Storytellers. All right, over here next.
To Mark and Rico. When they stopped the storyline from J.S. Williams, because they were leading Batwoman towards a battle with Batman. That's not going to happen, or are you going to address it?
Stay tuned.
All right.
Is that right? Is that right? Stay tuned? Is that what I can say?
That's the correct answer. All right. Next, over here.
Okay, I do have a question. First, my mom was watching Ink Master, okay? She had no idea who you were. She thought you were a rock star. I told her, no, he's something a million times better. He's the kind of flipper back.
Thank you very much, John. And just so you know, they edited quite a bit. That guy messed up Poison Ivy. I knocked the shit out of him.
Good. My actual question is the 0-year tie-ins. Now, are those just going to take place at the same time as the story, or are those going to be actual origin stories for the Batman?
There's a variety of them. I mean, some of them show, they're not origin stories. What we wanted to do is we don't want you to feel like you have to pick up those to understand the story that's going on in Batman. That's always been kind of my mandate. If you're reading Batman, you can read Batman and get the full story of Batman in that book. That said, the mandate towards the people that wanted to do crossovers, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to do them at first. But then editorial proposed it to the writers, and the writers said, we have ideas. Lemire came to me, and Greg Pak came to me and said, we have things we want to do. And they proposed the ideas, and I was like, those are great, go with them, let's do it then. And Kyle. And so the idea really became, all right, do something that shows your character 6 years ago. It's organic to the art that you're doing in your book. It doesn't necessarily need to be about Batman and what's happening to him or the Riddler, but it fills in a secret part, a keystone moment in your character's life. So they're really meant to be organic to the series that you're reading. So if you love Catwoman or you love, Action Comics or The Flash or, any of the books that tie in Detective, you can read that book and get a piece of the characters you're following that's pertinent to the arc or pertinent to the sort of trajectory of that character in that book. It's not necessarily something about 0 Year in Batman. It's about the book that you love and that you're reading organically and singularly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Ma'am, because you correctly identified Greg Capullo as bigger than a rock star, for you, I have one of our convention exclusives. This is this beautiful print we did, one of Greg's covers for 0 Year.